in today's video, I want to talk about something that's very, very important to me, and it should be important to you too, and that is calories. Calories in, calories out. And the reason that I'm making this video is because I've heard a lot of talk, mostly on Instagram, where somebody will say, calories in, calories out is a scam, or you have a lot of people on the other side who are saying, the only thing that matters is calories in, calories out. So which side is right? And the other thing I want to address, the reason I'm making this video is because, over the years, I've always seen things on magazine covers like, 3 fat loss burning secrets, or, drink this one little thing and it'll melt the fat right off. And all that stuff has really bothered me. Okay. I don't know why. It just triggers me. I think it's just because it's kind of playing into people's insecurities to try to take advantage of them to sell products. And I feel deep in my core that that's wrong, and it bothers me. Okay. So today, Matt is fired. Matt, the producer, is fired. Today, in this video, we're going to be talking about calories in, calories out. Is it a scam? So, ladies and gentlemen, please grab your notebooks, take your seats, class is in session, throw in a Zin, crack a monster. Let's get it on. What are we going to talk about today? I'm going to define the terms. All right, we're going to talk about what kind of each side is saying. We're going to break it down a little bit. And then we're going to talk about calories and body composition. I'm going to give you some things to think about. I'm going to cover just the basics of how you actually lose fat, how do you lose weight, and how do you, more importantly, when you're gaining weight, how do you make sure it's good weight? And when you're losing weight, how do you make sure that's good weight? And then I'm going to answer the question. I'm going to answer the question of, is it a scam? Is calories in, calories out a scam? And then I'm going to give you a key takeaway at the end so you can walk away with something actionable. Say, okay, I have all this information now. Now what do I do? Don't worry, I got you. Before we get too crazy into it, just want to cover, obviously, my credentials, right? You don't want to just hear this from some random bald ding-dong on the internet. Here is my fat loss and nutrition credentials, okay? We have 180 pounds to 235 pounds, back down to 185. And this has been a very, very long road, okay? And I'm not a naturally big guy. I'm 5'9". When I was in high school, I graduated high school, I was 125 pounds. When I joined the Air Force in 2012, I was 145. Okay, so this has been a very long road. I've been working out and messing around with nutrition and everything for 15 years. Okay, so there's a lot of trial and error and just kind of learning things over the years that's going into this PowerPoint. Obviously, I made you a PowerPoint presentation because that's what we do here. And I'm hoping that you really enjoy today's video and take something away from it. Okay, so calories in, calories out. Calories in, this is the one side of the argument. Calories in, calories out doesn't matter. Okay, it's irrelevant. Okay, calories in, calories out does not matter at all. And this is the kind of stuff like more than like a decade ago, it was really popular to do these like lemon juice cleanses. Mostly, a lot of people on Facebook were kind of getting scammed by this. They're saying, oh, I did a lemon juice cleanse where I only drank a cold water with a lemon squeezed into it, and that's all I had for 2 days, and I lost 4 pounds. Well, yeah, you didn't eat anything. You didn't eat anything for 2 days, and you only had lemon juice. Of course, you're gonna lose something. But what did you lose? Is it good or is it bad? And this is a popular podcast clip. There's been this clip popping around lately. I've seen it on Instagram. I think I even covered it here on the show recently. And it's these two nice ladies, and they're talking, and one's like, you got to try this super secret recipe or this super secret ingredient that you just take a little bit of this ingredient and then you can have any dessert you want and it'll just melt the fat off. And she says it's vinegar. Right? It's vinegar. You just take a shot of vinegar and then you can slam cheesecake and you'll be fine. Okay. No, I don't know about that. I don't think so. And so again, stuff like that. It's the tabloids, man. It's I think there's a lot of really good intentioned people that are trying to put out some good info. There's a lot of bad actors, but I think there's also a lot of good intentioned people who are trying to put out good info. But I think saying things like, calories in, calories out doesn't matter. I think that's possibly, you could potentially be sending somebody down the wrong way, the wrong alley, the wrong road. And this is another thing I wanted to touch on. I just saw an advertisement. No joke. I was just watching, I had like some background music playing on YouTube and played this ad for this fat loss drink. You mix up this drink and it burns the fat off you. And it's just water, and you pour baking soda and salt into it. And there's no way that's even healthy. And it was like made by AI. It was crazy. I don't even know, it's wild. So I think like I said, I think there's some bad actors. I think there's some good actors trying to put out good info, but kind of packaging it in maybe not the best way. And then you have people on the other end of the spectrum. Calories in, calories out is the only thing that matters. And, I love Mr. Sam Sulek, but I think sometimes he's said things along this particular realm. And I think that, even I'm not trying to call him out saying that I think he's wrong. I think that he's right to an extent, but I'm saying, there's more to the story. Okay. So for example, could you eat, let's say you were trying to lose weight and you were only eating donuts. I think there is probably an amount of donuts where you could eat it, you just eat a couple donuts a day and you could lose weight. Okay, that's probably true. I think that is possible. You could probably also lose weight on McDonald's or, just Wendy's only or just fast food in general. And like I said, I think that's possible too, but really the thing that we're trying to get away is, calories in, calories out is the only thing that matters. That's what I do hear a lot of people say that. And I think that if you have a diet that is only donuts or a diet that is only McDonald's or only Wendy's, I think that potentially that you could have some problems there. Okay? So here's some things to think about. I want you to think about, let's say you were to only eat 3,000 calories of chicken and rice versus only 3,000 calories of McDonald's or Wendy's. Okay, like you have two separate people. One of them only ate chicken and rice. One of them only ate McDonald's and Wendy's or any fast food in general. And just kind of think about that. If both people trained and both people worked out, and they ate the same amount of calories, let's just say it was like two twins, right? What do you think about that? I think that you could just basically use your common sense and kind of figure out that I think that the person just on the clean chicken and rice there's going to be a noticeable visual difference there. I genuinely feel that way. I don't have some sort of study to back that up. To me, that's one of those things that's just kind of common sense. Okay. So what about something else? 400 calories of like the sugar in fruit versus 400 calories of soda, which is most of the time, a lot of your sodas are going to be high fructose corn syrup. Okay, so those are both sugars. They're both sources of, they're both kind of carbohydrates, right? But are those carbohydrates the same? Are they all equal? Okay, so how does that, what happens when it goes into your body? Okay, so the sugar in fruit is mostly fructose, glucose, and sucrose. All right, and when you eat that fruit, there's a lot of other fiber and micronutrients, and they're going to kind of slow down the processing of that sugar so it doesn't immediately super bump your blood sugar. Okay, you are going to get a little bit of rise, obviously, from the sugars in there, but it's not going to spike it the same way that a high fructose corn syrup would, which is just pure, unadulterated chemical sugar with nothing else in it, nothing to, cut it or help your body digest it or slow it down. Just going to be boom. Super hardcore blood sugar spike, and that's what's going to make you feel, like really sluggish and feel kind of tired and crappy after you drink like a big soda. Okay, so you think about that. Okay, there's clearly some differences in carbohydrates. So what about like proteins, right? I think that this is another thing that's kind of, I think this is also common sense. What if, okay, you know those like TV frozen dinners that have, I think they're like the Hungry Man or whatever, has like a chunk of like Salisbury steak in there, right, with some like potatoes and green beans. Okay, so I want you to compare that protein quality to, grass-fed organic chicken breast. In my opinion, I think there's probably going to be, I think one of those things is going to have a better source of protein. And I think it's probably going to have a better, it's going to digest in your body better. And probably your body is going to be able to use it a little more bioavailability, as they say. So I think that per, source to source, I think there's a lot of difference depending on where those nutrients come from. Okay, so why does that matter? What am I getting at here? Why does that matter, Frank? Okay, so I want you to think about macros and your composition, your body composition. All right, so when we're doing a cut, the point is we want to lose weight and we want to maintain as much muscle as possible, right? We just want to be burning the fat. And alternatively, when we are bulking, we want to add as much weight as possible, but we want to minimize conversion of fat into new things that we're eating, right? Okay, so in the context of calories in, calories out, that's all that matters, okay? What if I was bulking, what if I only ate 4,000 calories of fat? Okay, even if I was training, if I just ate 4,000 calories of fats only, how much muscle repair am I going to get, right? How much, how much muscle repair, how much new muscle building am I going to get? How much fat conversion am I going to get? If I'm intaking only fat, it's probably going to be pretty easy for my body to say, hey, we can turn that into more fat, right? Perfect. Great. It's already fat. Let's throw it in. Bam, boom, boom, store it. Okay. Alternatively, let's think about what if we bulked 4,000 calories of only chicken breast, only organic grass-fed chicken breast. Your body's probably going to have an okay time repairing any muscle that you damage, or building new muscle, doing repairs or whatever. We may be struggling a little bit in the energy department, trying to pull some energy out of that protein. We can do that, and we can, there's going to be a little bit of fat in the chicken, so we can use some energy there. But overall, I just want you to think about it. Which one is going to affect your body differently? How's your body going to look? Like if you did that for a year, if you ate 4,000 calories a day of olive oil, right? You just drank olive oil, 4,000 calories a day. That's it. Okay, I don't think it doesn't take us. I think that even a science-based lifter can figure this one out, right? It doesn't take a lot to figure this out. Okay, so I think that your macro makeup of your daily intake is going to have a pretty big effect on your body composition. I think that's fairly, I think we can all agree on this. I think it's pretty common sense. Okay, so why does that matter? So to get back to the main question, calories in, calories out. Okay, so if that's what we're talking about, how do we gain weight? Okay, so if there's more to the story, how do we gain weight if there's more to the story, or, what does this all mean? To gain weight, you consume more calories than you expend. Okay, where will that extra weight go? What is the extra weight going to be? Is it going to be fat? Is it going to be muscle? And that's going to depend on a few things. Well, a big thing is, are you training at all, right? If you're not doing any physical training at all, there's a good chance that no matter how clean you eat, you're probably not going to gain a whole lot of new muscle, or your muscles are probably not going to really get much bigger. They may a little bit, if you bulk clean but don't work out. But you're probably going to add a lot of fat, right? I think it's pretty obvious. So how do I make sure I'm only gaining muscle when I'm bulking? You can't really, but what you can do is minimize fat conversion, okay? So like we were talking about earlier, if you're doing that bulk, you're doing that 4,000 calorie bulk, you can structure your diet in a way so that you're any excess calories that you have is going to be minimal amounts of those new calories are being stored as fat. One way you can do that is not eat a lot of fat, right? So it's going to be just a little bit harder for your body to turn that fat into stored fat. Pretty, like I said, pretty obvious. So how do you lose weight? Okay. Well, you consume less calories than you expend. And notice I'm not saying maintenance. I'm not using the maintenance term. I'm not saying eat more than your maintenance or consume less than your maintenance. Because I think that your maintenance can move around, right? Your maintenance is kind of wiggles a little bit, right? There's a little bit of wiggle room for your maintenance. And that's because of adaptations to your diet. Okay, it's your expenditure, your calories, your maintenance is just another word. It's kind of another word for your daily expenditure, right? So think if I normally eat 3,000 calories a day, and then I just have a day where I eat 1,500. Okay, am I going to lose a bunch of fat that day? Like, am I going to lose 1,500 calories of fat on that day? Probably not. Okay, if I just do it for one day and then go back to 3,000, I might lose some fat. But what also might happen is that my body just might generate less energy that day, right? So we just might we're going to have a low intake day, and energy-wise, we're also going to have a low output day. Maybe I'm just tired that day, and I'm tired the whole day because I didn't eat much. Okay, so did that mean I lost a bunch of fat? No, right? So there's some movement in your expenditure and in your daily maintenance. So when you're losing weight, overall, there are some hormonal factors, right? There are people who have, hormonal imbalances that do make it a little bit harder to lose weight. And I think I'm not saying to be like a super soft or anything, but, I think there's people who are saying, I'm having a hard time losing weight because of hormonal stuff. And then you have other people who are being like, no, you're just fat. And you just suck at it and you just need to eat less. And there's a little bit of truth to that, right? But there's also a little bit of truth to there being hormonal factors that can take place, right? And maybe there are some things that are inhibiting fat loss. So how do I make sure that when you're losing weight, you're just losing the fat and not the muscle? You can't do that to 100%, right? There's a good chance that you will lose a little bit of muscle if you lose a drastic amount of weight, but you can make sure make sure you break down as little muscle as possible by doing often feedings or eat frequently, split your meals out. This is just my opinion. There's a lot of people who work fine on the the intermittent fasting, and I did that for a little bit, but in my opinion, I think spreading your meals out works a lot better. So you can spread your meals out a lot better, and you can make sure you're eating a lot of proteins, right? You can make sure that when your body is going in and grabbing energy, or the little bit of food that you are taking in during the day, you are able to repair those muscles and make sure your body doesn't, get into the muscle tissue and start using that as your energy source, because that would obviously mean smaller muscles, right? And we do not want smaller muscles. We want the opposite. Okay, so in summation, calories in, calories out. Is it a scam? No. Calories in, calories out is not a scam, but also there's more to the story than just strictly calories in, calories out. And I think it's important that you learn a little bit. If you made it this far in the video, then you probably did learn. Hopefully you did learn a little bit. So what do I do now that I have all that information? And I'm glad you asked. Okay, you can ignore all the quick fix stuff, right? This is the quick fix fat loss things, the drink a spoonful of vinegar to burn the fat off, or, all these things, the lemon juice cleanses, just ignore them, right? There are no quick fixes. So if somebody is trying to sell you a quick fix, just ignore it, okay? Because it's going to be BS. I would use, this is what I've done in the past, is I use the feel test, like the I feel test for diet things, right? So I eat something. If it makes me feel bad, I don't eat it again, right? It's pretty simple. You'd be surprised as to how far that can take you, right? When I eat this, I feel really great. I'm going to eat more of that, right? That thing makes me feel really bad, or I feel really tired after I eat that. Maybe avoid whatever that is. And the thing is, nobody's just going to go from overnight to, like eating not that great, a lot of chips, snacks, candy, things like that, to suddenly they are like an expert dieter. Okay, this takes years of practice, and it's a skill that you have to gain. So just try to make incremental small changes over time. That's going to improve your diet a little bit by little bit. Best thing you can do is start to track your diet and really just once you start tracking, it's really going to help to give you an idea as to how much calories are in something. And really, that's going to be a big game changer for a lot of people. So anyways, I hope that was helpful. And see you in the next video.